Hello, 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 friends. Welcome to the stream, guys. I am just making sure that I got everything set up here correctly, and I think I do. Let me know if you guys can hear me, and we can go ahead and get started. In our last stream, if you guys were around, and this thing's so dirty. In our last stream, if you guys were hanging out, we were doing some stuff with our hands there at the end, playing around with the face, the scarf, a little bit of some of our clothing. Since then, I've kind of played around with a few different things with the face, very minor changes to around the eyes and how that blends into the rest of the head. I've done just some little knickknacks here, just some little parts and pieces. And I want to kind of continue creating some of these things up in the hat, like the twig, the leaves, maybe some other stuff, but really minor stuff, and then we can finally go into posing on this guy. I think he's in a good enough place to start doing that. So let's jump in and look at our hat here, and probably start making a twig and some levers. But yeah, I was playing with this right before I jumped on stream, just to show you really quick. Really simple geometry. I'm probably not going to do anything more to this until we go into posing and I break symmetry. I could break symmetry on this by itself, but I'll just wait to do that. Not a big deal. So it's just really low poly stuff that I threw in there. Really quick, simple. Nothing crazy. And then I just have a dynamic subdiv turned on so that I can kind of see what that'll look like once I do subdivide it. But yeah, let's go on up here to the hat and begin looking at creating some of this stuff. The leaves will be fun, I think. I think we can create kind of like one base leaf. And we can use that for these few here. And then for that last one, we can just create like a little cut in it. I think that'll work just fine. Down here, real quick, I was kind of playing around with some poly paint for these stars, and then I was seeing like maybe I could insert some geometry and do that as well. I don't have the... I can't hide those stars right now. I had something on that earlier. Not a big deal. So let's get twigging. Twigging? Sure, that's a thing. I want to scale this up real quick, as I noticed it was a little bit smaller than what we wanted. KSA John, what's going on, man? Welcome back. I'm tempted to retop of this and animate it. It'd be fun, it'd be cool to see this guy animated. He's not, I'll probably save out a neutral one, a neutral posed version. So, I typically have, at the end of the day, just a neutral. Like, I'll delete all my extra files, and I like to save as I go, just so if anything does happen, I can kind of roll back and grab a piece of geometry I might need, or if for any reason a file gets corrupted, I can always, you know, have a previous version. I recommend always saving that way. But also, you know, I like to keep, at the end of the day, a neutral pose, and then a finished pose as well. Another thing I want to do up here, what the heck? There we go, is add some quick little secondary forms to this. I'll probably lower my intensity so we're not quite as tough on that. And this brush right here, it's my sharp soft edge brush. Very similar to a dam standard, just a little bit softer. You can play around with the dam standard settings and get a similar effect, and maybe change the alpha a little bit, and I think you can get pretty close. So we're just going to focus on creating some simple cut-ins, and then I'm using my alt stroke to build that form up on top. Craig, what's going on, dude? What it do? What it do, my dude? What it do? It do... I don't even know what you would call this shape. Slices. That's what it do. Or unless that's just your cool kid way of saying what's up. I'm not much on the hip lingo. Sometimes I talk like I'm in a Scooby-Doo TV show. So I'm just kind of trying to flow these together nicely. And what I mean by that is, let's go back here. Look at this. Probably try to sharpen some of these up even more so. But let me show you a quick example. So as I'm working, I'm creating a cut in, and as I do just a singular stroke, I'm starting off stroking very lightly, and then as I go further along that stroke, I push harder and harder and harder till I'm pressing at the 100%, like at 100% of the brush's strength, and then I stroke lighter and lighter and lighter until my pen lifts up. And it's not so noticeable on a small brush like that. Let's subdivide up once here. But as I do that, that's a little bit of a better example, so you can see it kind of fades into the strongest part of the stroke and then fades out. And I try to do that with pretty much every single stroke that I make, unless there's a particular reason that I'm not trying to do that. Especially on stuff like this for cloth. I think it requires a couple passes of some strokes, but you can make that look pretty good. So that's the first part of kind of making these flow together nicely. The second part is kind of trying to find these places where that stroke is fading off to nothing, and then I just try to go back a little bit and kind of follow it with an inverse stroke sometimes. I kind of try to switch it up, so using an alt stroke and a positive stroke as well. Just trying to find those areas where I can, blend these together and create some interesting form. And then as I go back through, I might find, oh, okay, it's getting a little crowded over there. Let's knock some of that back. But really, it's kind of all over the place up here, and we got to interpret what we can't see. So, not a problem. I'm just trying to get, honestly, this a little bit more dirty for a first pass. A little bit more form. A little bit tough to see completely what's going on here, so we'll just grab a basic material and swap on back to white for our color, and that makes it quite a bit easier. And then I just want to really get in here and add I just want to mess up my surface a little bit. I'm also using Lazy Mouse. I always turn Lazy Snap. This Lazy Mouse is I think in the stroke menu over here. So if you open up stroke, go to Lazy Mouse, you can turn that on. There's a bunch of different settings in there for you to play around with. I like to keep Lazy Snap on 0 most of the time. What Lazy Snap does is it's a new feature. I think it was introduced in 4R8, I can't remember, but it allowed you to continue a stroke, and it will snap to the end of your stroke if you want it to, and that defines the distance. But if you put it on 0, it turns it off. So for the most part I keep it off, but sometimes I keep it on. Lazy Step I turn down really low, 0.01, and Lazy Radius on roughly 100, but I tweak that probably the most out of anything on here. Nathan, what's going on, man? Welcome to the stream. I think Nathan is come and hung out on every single stream I've had this week. But I appreciate it. I always appreciate having some people to talk to and hang out with on stream. Sculpting is a very, very slow process. 3D modeling in general, I think, is a pretty slow process. And it's nice to have some people to chat with. So we're we're getting somewhere here. There's definitely some areas that are more dirty than others. But pretty much what I'm attempting to do here, like I said, is kind of add some unevenness to my surface. I just want to get it looking not so smooth, not so unnatural. And then knock a lot of that junk back. I don't really need most of it. And then after doing that, I've made some of these strokes a little bit stronger than others, so essentially what I'm going to do is go back through and use my pinch brush, exaggerate some of those forms. Let's find, that's our front view. Pinch brush, turn on our lazy mouse. Just get a little pinch in here. Really, I don't want a ton of different forms going on. The first part of that process was really just to add some what I call warble to my surface. A little bit of unevenness, so it looks more like, you know, cloth. It's kind of some of the problems when you're working with subdivision levels, I think, is you got your primary form, and then it's hard to kind of start not breaking that symmetry, but breaking that initial form up. I think in the beginning, though, when you're kind of new, that's kind of something that you do on not by choice. You kind of just, you're not very good at controlling the form when you're new to ZBrush and new to sculpting, so everything kind of looks warbly and dirty and not very good. That's where everybody starts, though. Trying to connect some of these a little bit, get something that looks nice. This material here is my personal material. It's what I use for sculpting most of the time. The basic materials, basic 1 and 2, can give you a little bit of some better views on some concave and convex surfaces occasionally, just depending on where your light is and how you're working on this. I prefer sculpting with my own personal material here. And if that's something that you're interested in, I believe it's over on my Gumroad somewhere, and there's a link to that down below in the description. I can't remember, with 2018, I don't think the red wax material is the default anymore, or I think it's the default, but you can make it no longer your default. I had a plugin originally that I used that made made my material, my default material for everything, but it's no longer like that, which is nice. Built in. It's always funny when you see people posting with red wax. It's like, welcome to the club. There's actually someone in the in our ZBrush Discord whose name is the Red Wax Police. Cody, what's going on, dude? Welcome to the stream. Cody Craig. Cody, if I'm not mistaken, you used to hang out on a lot of the streams back in the day. Always popping in, saying hello. In terms of our secondary forms, though, up there, let's turn our material color back on, all that. I think that works. Another thing with skin shade 4 material, which is what I'm using here by default, it makes it a little bit more tough to see what's going on with your surface, so shadows are a little bit softer in some areas, and if you have polypaint applied, it makes it even a little bit more tough. So you can kind of see there the difference in those materials. This is the basic material. Just so you can get an idea of, you know, how well you can see the surface form changing. You can definitely see where some of these shadows are a little bit softer, a little bit more hard. And then this is my sculpting material that I use. A little bit nicer on the eyes. I think it makes it a little bit easier to see some form. And I've been using this material for quite a while. At least a couple years now. Alright, so twigs, leaves, what do you think, guys? Twig or leaf? What should we do first? I'm thinking. I'll let you guys decide. Let's see. Cube. And duplicate. Just setting some stuff up here so that we can do both. That was a little annoying. Got new work. Not really much time for YouTube, but saw a lot of streams offline. Nathan says leaves. Cody says leaves as well. Alright, cool. Leaves it is. So, the way that I'm going to start creating our leaf here is with a primitive cube. Pour water all over myself, like a fool. It was a lot more fool than I thought it was. The bottle, not myself. I expect myself to be a fool. So what I'm going to do here is mirror and weld, just to kind of give myself an edge loop in the middle. Lazy man's way of creating that middle edge loop. And we're just going to start playing with our form, shaping it into a basic leaf shape. And you can see, like, just moving one vertex, you can already start to see where we're going here. Oh man, now I'm all wet. That's okay. Let's I guess let's do some quick creasing. Just on our top and bottom loops there. And you know what? I'm actually gonna do one for the middle edge loop as well. And then we can do some cool stuff with that. Whoops, turn to the side there. As we start to move this, we'll start to get that kind of hard ridge in the middle. We might bevel that, but we'll get the same effect, just a little bit softer. So from here, we'll continue just adding some additional edge loops. And these are just going to allow us to control the form a little bit more. Kind of pull in these edges a little bit. Just trying to look at the silhouette of that shape. Whoops, accidental dynamesh there. Turn that off. Getting there. Pretty quickly too. Doesn't take that much. Uh-oh. Accidentally got an extra leaf on our canvas. Add a little bit more bend in there. So when we sliced this, we actually gave ourselves a triangle here. That's okay, it's not the end of the world. I'm not worried about it. Typically you want to stay away from tries, so they can you want to stay away from tries, particularly for animation. But for us, it's not that big of a deal. A lot of the time it can make sculpting a lot more difficult because you end up getting this right here, this vertice. So this has, you know, too many faces coming out from it. It's called a star. You can have a 5-point star, or, you know, however many pointed star from there. This is a 6-point. It's bad, but like I said, in this instance, it's not the end of the world. I could I could delete it and then reattach some geometry and bridge some edges, but not worth it. Not worth it for this, at least. Alright, turn some stuff back on. Actually, let's turn all that back off. That's my bad. I'm just going to turn on my hat group here. And this cylinder is going to be the basis for our twig. Turn that off for now then. Okay, cool. So we have the basic shape for our leaf. I'm going to use that for these few here and just make minor changes to the leaf. I could make an insert mesh brush, but I mean, it's only going to be there repeated five times, yeah. So it's not really worth creating an insert mesh brush for. So I'll just duplicate it, move it around, and put it where I need it. So let's go ahead and do that. Cody says, looks cool. I've made many leaves in Blender by using single texture and plane, but this is really cool detail. Yeah, you can just like take a plane and then alpha out texture so that you get like the, you know, literally whatever image you can find of a leaf, and you can insert that in there. You can actually make some really cool leaves with a fiber mesh as well. I want solid geometry though. The way I typically think when I'm working on characters is for production. So if I'm going to make something, it needs to have thickness. So with this, you know, I can actually create some thickness for the leaf, although it is very thin, and then from there I can actually add some sculptural form on there. And actually, now that I think even more about that, it might be nice to add a little bit more detail on here sculpturally before we go on to duplicating this everywhere. So let's do that really fast. Just a little extra. Bendy Gaming says hi. What's going on? What do you use to make 3D prints? ZBrush. I use ZBrush to make 3D prints. If you're talking about like 3D printing software to like convert an object into G code so that you can print it, I like a software. My favorite 3D printing software is called Simplify 3D. It's actually made locally here in Cincinnati. They're a great group of guys and gals. Really cool people, really cool software. I think it's the best 3D printing software I've ever used. If you're looking for paid software, if you want free software, you can, you know, grab Cura or, you know, whatever you want. But Simplify 3D is the bee's knees. It's good stuff. Makes it does stuff super quick that other software takes, that could take, you know, actually hours to do. and it just has a lot of really nice features. See what we can do here. Let's turn our symmetry back on. Actually, you know what? I really don't care. I'll keep symmetry off. The more asymmetry these have right now, the better it's going to be anyway. Unfortunately, got some backface masking issues there. It's on now though, so it shouldn't pose an issue. I'm just kind of lazily adding some additional forms in here. Nothing crazy. Just some stuff to give it some more detail. These are pretty tiny though. John Smith says, do you ever draw paint when not sculpting? Does it help understanding art fundamentals like composition, values, etc.? The more you know, the more it's going to help you, absolutely. I do not draw or paint, not often at least. I love the sculpts you do, they're really cute. Well, thank you. Appreciate that, John. And welcome to the stream. Glad to have you here. Glad to have you with us. Yeah, I don't do a lot of drawing or painting, but the fundamentals of that will absolutely help you. I am an all my eggs in one basket kind of guy, and I did that intentionally. When I started sculpting in ZBrush, I did not have a background in art, not at all, and I kind of needed to progress as quickly as I possibly could in digital sculpting. And to do that, I focused as much as I could just on digital sculpting. And here we are today. But that's not to go without saying that you should do the same thing. If it's something that you're passionate about, I don't see why it would hurt you. It's definitely not going to harm you. I think this resolution is way too low if we want to do that. Yeah. Let's try bumping that up. $200K, let's go a little higher. Cool. Grab our lazy mouse, standard brush. I'm just trying to create some secondary forms in here. Make it a little more visually interesting. And the reason I dynameshed was because our pinches were getting way too tight for the geo, so I couldn't add this form in here without it screwing up some additional forms. So just some extra little forms in there to help it catch the shadows a little bit better. Thank you for the stream and your videos. Absolutely. Thanks for coming to hang out, dude. Cody Craig said, it's really helpful to know anatomy. Yeah, absolutely. I think people throw that term around pretty loosely. I feel like I was talking about this recently on stream. Somebody can stop me if I'm repeating myself. But I think people throw the term, oh shit, hold on a second. Refresh that. I think people throw the term anatomy around too loosely to the point where nobody knows what the hell to study. I think you should just kind of study anatomy as it comes up and you find gaps in your knowledge. So it's like, if you're new and you're like, I'm going to sculpt a human character, you're going to end up finding probably a lot of gaps in your knowledge during that process. And you're probably going to struggle quite a bit. That's why I recommend, you know, start sculpting a finger. Then from there, duplicate that finger, you know, make all your other fingers. Turn one of those fingers into a thumb. You got four fingers and a thumb, whatever you want to say, 5 fingers, I don't care. And then try making a hand from there, the palm, combining all that. And then try to make a forearm, bicep, and I think that's a pretty great anatomy study. But people try to tackle too much at once quite often. Like if you want to sculpt a face, maybe just start making a nose on like a plane or something like that. It's going to give you the time to kind of focus more on one thing at a time. I don't recommend just, you know, studying anatomy. It's unless you know specifically what you want to learn, right? That's a little bit different. Remesh and project. Now that we got some of those extra forms in there. We need to go lower, Captain. I don't want to do 0.1. Oh, I don't want to go quite that low. I want to go lower than 1,000 though. This beautiful mess right there. That'll work. Project, project, project. And there we go. We got the nice basis for a leaf, a leafer. Oh. All right. So from here, start placing our leaf. I'll probably add some more poly paint on this too. Play with it a little bit more. I think I'm going to play with each one individually so that I can add some asymmetry. I'm going to try to be very careful here too. And try not to spill my water on myself again. Success. Alright, let's start placing some leaves. And turn that off. And I am probably just gonna pose these a little, just a little bit here, and then try to get the rest of them in, and then kind of do a second pass from there. So I don't want to spend too much time on each individual leaf. This one's also a little bit fatter. This one's got a little bit of an S-curve to it. Artists and their dang S-curves, I tell you what, that's all they do. I'm going to hide part of this hat because it's a little tough to rotate around it. Just so I can look at this from the bottom view. Much easier. What's great about having these low poly subdivs to work with, quite a bit easier to play with our form, our major form there. And we'll squeeze the twig in there. Get that to look really nice. And put the little baby leaf on that twig as well. Alright. Next leaf, this is going to be the one that has a cut in it, and I will add that during our secondary pass probably, and I'll show you how I'll do that. It's a pretty sharp cut in there, so we'll have to do a little bit of a trick to get that exactly. There's a couple ways, but In the old version of ZBrush before live boolean, it would have been a lot more difficult, but with live booleans, it's quite a bit easier. But I want to look at doing it probably the old way that I would do it first, just so you guys can see that method, because I use that for a lot of different things as well. It'll involve using our slice curve brushes. Trying to add some twist without breaking our shape here too much. Can be a little tough. It's really easy to break something like this and just like completely destroy the form that you're building. I'm gonna be careful. Trying to pay attention to all these curves that are going on. I can also see that it's catching the light a little bit more there, so it's a little bit, you know, bowed out. And it looks like up here, it's a little bit bowed in, going the opposite direction. Trying to make it look a little bit better now from all our different angles. But we'll hit that up more in a secondary pass. And let's see. Last leaf, last big leaf. Another S curve, like this leaf up here. Maybe I could have duplicated that one. I was thinking about it, but I don't know. I think the shape's different enough where Just use this. It'll be just fine. Another question is, are there more leaves on the back side of the hat? I think not. I think we're good with just this. We don't want to overdo it. Just trying to add a little bit more twist to this, so from this angle we can kind of see the bottom of that leaf a little bit. It's just proving to be difficult, proving to be annoying. I'm sure leaf sculpting is very, very entertaining, very informative, and a blast to watch. That's okay, we're almost done. Then we can move on to something mo fun. Mo fun than leaves. Whew, there we go. Starting to get that a little bit better, a little bit closer. That's what I was looking for. Beautiful. Alright, where's a little twiggy friend here? I am just going to, I already have this cylinder made and I have it creased and everything, so I'm just going to kind of put it over there and sculpt it in position. It's going to be easier. And it's not like this is a complicated shape either. Thanks, I like my haircut too. Uh-oh. A little twig or leaf here poking through. Alright, so for this cylinder piece here, there's a few different ways I can do this. As with everything else, I'm going to just slice though to add an extra edge loop and start kind of just shaping this, moving it around where I need it. Just a little bit faster than switching brushes, grabbing my Z modeler brush and everything else. It's a little bit quicker. Plus it's okay if it's dirty. I kind of want it to be dirty so that I can start adding all that secondary form and stuff in there. Alright, subdivide our little twig friend here a few times. Just add some few little movements here and there, just so it's not perfectly straight from from any angle. Such a cute little girl for your reference imagery. That's right. Not quite a little girl. You were close though. Let's see. Kristen, for some odd reason, had thought that this was a little girl. I'm guessing she just briefly looked at it. Alright, so to add some secondary forms in here, not necessarily texture, but we can start using our clay tubes brush. Come in here. I want to be pretty messy. I don't really care how uneven or anything this is. The more uneven, actually, the better. Some knobs, some different pieces poking out here and there. Shout out to Hydro Flask, I guess. My Contigo has been retired. I used to always have my Contigo on my streams, but now I got my Hydro Flask, so that's the new cool kid thing to do. I guess I need to replace my my gear page. It still has my Contigo on there. Clay tubes is actually really good for a quick bark texture, and you can do some different things with it to make it look really nice. Just for something quick like this though, it works really well too. Something quick and small. So even after a Dynamesh, even if it's low res, it's honestly kind of helpful for you because it gets rid of some of those strokes and it gives it a nice uneven texture there. So it looks pretty good. I just want to up res a little bit. And I'm actually pretty happy with this at this stage. I'm just adding in some pinches here and there. And just some different areas where I think it could use some extra texture, some extra form or anything. And that's how we do a quick little twig. Let's swap on back to our correct Skin Shade 4 material. And I'll reapply our color and material here. These leaves don't have our material applied, so I need to do that real quick. Let's merge. I'm gonna merge all these together. Make sure that they're all on the highest subdiv though. Merge it down. And do that for the rest of these. Hud boy, hello, hello. Good afternoon to you as well, dude. We are doing some more work on our hat for you and all the other new people popping in. I'll unhide some stuff here in just a moment. Our hat's a little screwed up. There we go. We've done some more work on this guy. Played around with his face. We're looking at the hat right now, adding some more leaves, adding this little twig, just adding all these little parts and pieces that are gonna need to be on there. But after that, I'd like to go into some posing. I don't know if we'll be able to get to that on today's stream. I would like to, even if it's just a little bit. But I'm not in a super big hurry or anything. Let's hide this again. Whoops, wrong piece. something like that, like this little area. If this was for like a toy or something, this would definitely need to be changed in some way. It's just way too thin. Have to figure that out. But for this, it's totally fine. Alright, well I think that's pretty much everything for our hat right now, other than maybe some like scratches and stuff we can do to tatter the hat. I don't know. Oh, you know what? I did want to remove that slice from this leaf. That's right. A little bit of a cut. We'll just do a live boolean, I think, real quick. Actually, kind of play with how these are interacting, since this one in the reference is actually behind the other leaf. We'll play with these for a second. Closer. Alright. I'm going to duplicate our leaf. And I guess we'll just make a quick wedge to throw in there. Something easy. Oh, whoops. Meant to put that on negative. There we go, so we can kind of see what that's looking like. So in older versions of ZBrush, we would not have been able to do something like this. Not, especially not this fast. I mean, that took seconds to get that in place. Back in the day, what you would have had to done is take your leaf and create some slice curve strokes in it, which is pretty baffling that that's kind of the only way you really could do that and do it well if you wanted a really clean cut. And we do want a really clean cut. But luckily now we can do this kind of stuff with ZBrush. Alright. What do you guys think of our leaves? Whoa! That's not good. When rotating this, must have screwed this up. That's okay. Really quick fix. I'm just duplicating, undoing. Have the changes on both sides there. And then if I want those subdivs back, you know, I can just very quickly reconstruct those. I think I had 6, so that's 5, one more then. There we go, got them all back, if we need them. Which at this point, I'm not sure that we do. And I can do some more stuff to add some asymmetry there. But, I don't know. I think they're fine for the time being. So what do you guys think? Get into posing, start breaking symmetry on everything, go past the point of no return. I say we do it. I'm gonna go through all my subtools here. Make a big yawn, step on down, and anything that I find that has sim on, I'm just gonna toggle it off. Awesome. So we're at 26 subtools right now, so we actually have quite a few in here, which can be a lot to juggle when you are getting into posing. But I'm just gonna make sure, I don't think anything is hidden. I just want to be careful before I jump into T-pose, or transpose master. I'm comfortable doing this stuff out of symmetry. I'm fine with all of this. I think I'm okay with doing this too. I don't think this will be an issue. Alright, let's do it. So we've got everything here. Everything's turned on, everything's visible. The one thing I don't... Oh wait, actually. That's gonna be frustrating. We will do it. We will make do. Alright. T-pose mesh. The eye subtraction that I have right now, the wedge that I have creating the basic shape of the eyes, I want to retain that for the time being because once I pose, there might be some changes that I want to make. To how the pupil is kind of positioned, where it's looking. So I'm just going to keep those in there, and we will play around with posing this guy now. You can also see if I go back here, some of my materials have swapped. I can reapply those. I'm not worried about that. Alright, so where to begin? It's a great question. I'm going to start down here at the feet, I think, first, and work our way around. I'm just going to polygroup each of these. Easier to select, and polygroup these individually. Easier to select as well. Actually, let's just make all that one, make all this one. It's good to get your selection stuff ready to go first. I'm not going to make any changes in here to the hat other than maybe its position, so that's safe to be one polygroup. I'm fine with that. I'm not going to make any changes probably to the head other than kind of rotating it, moving it around. So polygroups for that are fine, and I think everything else is good too. Other than these hands. I'll make those separate. Alright. I've somewhat already kind of positioned our cloak here in a way that's going to make it easier for posing. But for the most part, we got a lot of work to do from here. Get this angle. So this cloak is going to have to come up pretty high on this side to make some of this visible. Not going to be a problem. It's just going to be a lot of tweaking to a lot of different things. And this is a little bit too dense right through here, so some of this stuff is going to be a little bit harder to tweak than in other areas. Geometry is just making that bunch up there, and I'm gonna have to take that back down later, that form. One thing I want to do actually, before I forget, before we do anything we regret, let's save this in neutral pose. And I also want to save my undos up to that point. And you can see that's taken quite a while to save all those. It's saving my undos for every single subtool that I have there. So it's a little bit of some work. Alright. I think I'm just going to reload this without undos. So now nothing has undos on it anymore. It's just, it's going to help me with my movie process later. And if I have a chance, when I get to that point, I'll explain it. He is very cute, I agree. Just trying to get a couple of the angles here a little bit more correct. Whoops. This arm is pretty much going straight up in the air. Let's I want to try to add some tilt to the entire body. Definitely looks strange when it's like this, especially with these eye slits. So really I'm just going around now and just finding anything and everything that's needing these kind of major form changes and trying to focus on all of those. And there are a lot of different areas that that need this. It's going to be quite a bit of work, and this is not like the easy part at all. I think it's the fun part because I think this is like one of the big stages when your character really starts coming alive, once you start posing him or her or it or whatever it is. It's when things start looking a lot better, a lot more natural. I also think when you start to add color, it's kind of another one of those stages. I have enough polygons here to really work with this sleeve. Unfortunately, in here, I'm not going to get the result I want. So I think I'm just going to try to get my arm a little bit better. And I will play with my sleeve separately. Our body is also kind of rocking forward quite a bit. I think it's got a little bit of a curve here through the cloak. So what I'm going to try to do is grab our cloak, our feet, and essentially just mask off half of this. Rotate about halfway down. A little bit like that. Just so I can start to see the bottom edge of that cloak on that side. So I made those pretty even. But you can see here how you can see that bottom edge. I think our hat needs to change quite a bit. It's just so wide here, and it's gonna have to be so short in depth there. It's gonna be quite a large change, and I'll have to Z-remesh this. That's too dense of geometry. If I start to do this, it's gonna really start to screw it up. So I gotta fix that first before I make any of those changes. Let's pop on out of T-pose real quick, see how things are going. It's going to start cascading those changes through all those subtools. And I can switch my material. The hat got a little screwed up there, unfortunately. And the reason the hat got screwed up is because the name of it changed, I believe. I think if I rename this, it might actually work. So I just want to try this real quick. I'm hoping it works. It did. Awesome. So it wasn't reposing that because of the name of this is Wibbit 1, and I had saved that Z tool. When you save a Z tool, it renames your top subtool. So I got a little confused there. I've actually never had that happen, but I'm glad it worked. I'm just going to delete this, and we will continue on our way with posing this guy. I'm going to go through. If you look here again, I need to change some of these materials. So M material channel, I'm just going to step through and make sure everything's on the correct material. And we have the basis here for our posing, so we're well on our way. There's obviously a lot of stuff that needs to change though, looking at this. Alright. Need to make a lot of large scale changes for sure. Looking at our hat, I'm just going to ZRemesh this. Clean up some of this stuff. I think the rest of this is good. So I'm going to ZRemesh with keep groups on, and we'll do, actually let's try 2. See what this looks like. Whoa. Kind of freaking out there a little bit. Not sure why that's the case. There might just be some weird polygrouping stuff going on here. It's trying to conform to these edge loops that I've made with the polygroups, which is intentional. But for some reason it's like really freaking out right here around that edge. I'm not sure why. So I'm going to try to lower the polygroup count there. See if that helps at all. I don't know. If it's still being weird, we can just turn keep groups off completely. Okay, so that, I guess that was the problem. That was really weird. I've never seen that quite that bad before on something like this. 5K is a little high in my opinion. Let's step on back to 2. So that retains the form pretty well. Some weird junk going on in certain areas, but that's not a big deal. I just want to get rid of some extra density in here. You pretty much want your polygons to be as close to squares as you can possibly get them. It's not the end of the world though if they aren't. For some reason, it just wants to add in some extra geometry through here. It's really not necessary though. So, skin shade form material, just subdivide and project. And that has my color data with it as well, since I have that turned on. Now I'm going to be able to kind of modify this and squeeze it, like pinch it in on these edges, and maybe grow it out on the lengthwise direction. I'm just looking to make sure there aren't any weird little artifacts on here. And up here, there actually are some artifacts, and this is because my Dynamesh piece that I had before was so low res. These are actually the polygons that are being projected on there. So I have enough polygon data here to actually, you know, have that surface be clean. But on my previous Dynamesh I did not. Accidentally rotated that in the way. Also, it looks like some of our polypaint data there bled through from the other side for projecting. So I just want to turn on backface masking and kind of paint that out. I want to make sure that that's nice and clean. What I'll actually do is just select that poly group and click fill object and get rid of all that extra garbage. It doesn't look like it did it on this side, which is strange because honestly it's like more thin there than it is up there. I don't know, either way, gone now. But just make sure to clean up all those little artifacts that are causing some problems. I have two sets of stars in here right now because I couldn't decide what I wanted to do with these. If I wanted to do the poly paint or insert some actual geometry in there. Kind of like what I was doing with his forehead. I could paint that on him, but I just kind of placed a star there for now. And it's easier to poly paint that on after I've kind of broken symmetry and played around with some other stuff, and if I want to paint it, then I can do that. Easier to switch after the fact. So let's go back into Transpose Master now and continue making some more changes. There's a lot of stuff we got to do. I want to step down to our second to lowest subdiv here, and I'm actually going to delete it. So click delete lower. This is going to give me some extra resolution in here to work with. Actually, let's do, I think, one more. Yeah. So now, essentially what Transpose Master does is it will step down to your lowest subdivision level. And I want that lowest subdiv to have some more polygons so I can work with it better, more easily. This, on the other hand, this was causing me some problems. So I'm just going to try to fix it. Fix any of these little things really quick here. I don't think I have that edge creased. I don't. I can also like temporarily subdivide this to use a particular brush I'm trying to use, and then you know, step back down and delete lower, whatever I need, or delete higher subdivs. Sorry. Just kind of play with that form a little bit, clean it up, grow some of these edges since they're pretty thin in certain areas, because I was smoothing, and then, you know, I can delete higher if I need to. I'll hold on to them for now though. Another thing I want to try to do I want to try to wrap this edge in. You can see how it's kind of got a convex surface here from this view. And I would like to try to capture that. So we'll just polygroup here. Select all the necessary geometry. And I guess we could just do a quick rotate if we get the correct angle here. Might actually work pretty well. Better than I thought. And some move brush to kind of just pull in. Alright, and I'm just going to kind of build up this form on the other side. Just a little bit. And if you guys were around when I started building this cloak, I kind of pretty much did the same thing here by creating some large form changes and using my pinch brushes and some other stuff. Start getting the surface to turn. It's pretty much the same idea. I want to start thinking about my little sleeves and how those are going to blend in to our cloak. Just some pretty small changes here and there though. Just enough that I can jump back into T-pose and start working on that some more. I think the angle of this sleeve is actually pretty close to what I want. You can see our arm poking through there. We'll fix that. It's going to be tough to get this to interact nicely. We just got a lot of stuff that we need to make work in 3D here with the cloth, and that's going to be one of the harder things for this character. And I do have subdivs on our hands here, so I'll be able to actually work with those as well. The only reason I'm not going into Transpose Master quite yet is it's not as difficult to switch between my different tools here as I thought it would be, so this is actually working pretty well. The only reason I go into Transpose Master is because, you know, we have 26 subtools and I need an easier way to start selecting things quickly. I also need this to rotate forward quite a bit. And I want to keep that same rotation point for my arm now, just so it kind of stays the same length. If this was more complicated, that would be a lot more important. But I kind of know what I'm doing, and I'm not too worried about it. So I'm going to need to move multiple parts of the body here shortly, all together at once. And I'm going to need transpose for that. Because this body needs to slide this direction quite a bit. Some things are out of alignment, not going to work quite as well. So let's try to rotate this body and shift it to the left some. I like to use the selection lasso a lot, but the select rectangle just makes it a lot easier to select your different parts quickly by Control-Shift clicking them. Actually, I don't. That's fine. Alright. Kind of a little quick shift over. Some more rotation, I think. Oh, we forgot to turn our little bow tie on. That's okay. And that. That's not a problem. I think we'll be able to kind of manually quickly rotate those back into position. Now that these sleeves are a little bit higher res, it's quite a bit easier to tweak and play with those. This arm is going to be tough to really make that look natural in 3D. So it'll probably give me a subtool mismatch error once it hits that bow tie. This pink piece here. It might just skip it. Yeah, so it'll skip it. I've also been thinking about how in the hell we're gonna make this little piece here work. The way this is acting in 2D, it's a little bit strange. It's gonna be a pain. We'll get to it eventually. Auto groups here. Just trying to get this into a place where it's not intersecting with that other geometry. Being a pain in my butt. It's all part of posing though. You gotta break stuff before you can fix it. He's getting there though. We haven't been posing for very long here. So I'm going to try to get this angle here. It's a lot more horizontal, and I think that's going to help with our arm looking more natural. Might hide that temporarily. Pretty much got one big fold here. I'm just kind of looking at these larger shapes. And I think we're pretty good on the backside. Might just change some of this a little bit. Oh, accidental render there. I just got a little upturn in the cloak here that I'm trying to capture right now. And getting there. There's just so many little little tweaks and changes that we have to make to really capture everything. It's hard to know where to focus on, but I recommend, I've said this many times, just kind of jump around. It's not a good idea to focus too long on any one thing. King BB, nice name, and welcome to the stream. Says good afternoon. Good afternoon to you as well. And how's it coming along? We're getting there. We just started posing here not too long ago. I don't know if it's been even 20 minutes yet. For posing, we were working on some extra pieces for the hat, some leaves and such. But now we're going into that end game. And things are going good. Hope things are going well with you guys, all of you, as well. So I am probably going to, after, you know, tweaking a lot of this form, I'm probably going to end up deleting my higher subdivs. It does give me the ability to work. You see all this spotting? So this is part of one of the things that I was mentioning, I think yesterday on stream, about poly painting on lower subdivs. It really screws stuff up if you're working with your material and poly paint data on lower subdivision levels, and you can kind of see an instance of that right now. So I'm just going to fill this in. I had lost my material data on there, so I was trying to interpret that as my selected material. Just a little bit of an annoyance. Nothing we can't fix quickly though. Looking a little flat in the back here, so I wouldn't mind tweaking some of this, kind of rotating it out some more. I have a feeling this cloth is going to, most of the stuff that we have left to do is going to be, that's really tough, is going to be the clothing, and just posing the hands will probably take quite a while. Other than that though, you know, fixing this boot, rotating it, pointing the toe down, that's not going to be super hard. Tweaking the hat, I don't think that's going to be very hard. Some stuff with the face might take a bit longer than I think, but I think we're in a pretty good spot with that. Let's see. Dean says, saw you use IMM, or following along with Charizard tutorial, saw you use the IMM primitive and used a sphere. What's the difference between a sphere from the IMM primitive and the simple brush palette sphere? I'm not sure what you mean by simple brush palette sphere, unless there is a brush called the simple palette. Unless you're just talking about the primitives up here. Let me know. If you're talking about the primitive and the insert sphere, there is a difference, and I can show you that. Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, no worries. Real quick here, I'll show you. So you got your mesh, right? And let's say you want to insert a sphere to work with some geometry really quick. I like to use the Insert Multi-Mesh brush and come over here. I press the M key, select a sphere. You might have a quick pop-up menu where you can select your sphere, whatever you need. So yeah, while you're working on something, if you want to start blocking out a shape over here, you can just quickly insert the sphere and maybe split that off, and then start sculpting on it and working on it, right? So that's great. But if you want to append a sphere, like insert one of the primitive spheres, if we do that, you can see that. Here we go. So we have 2 spheres now, and let's look at this one. I don't know why that's being such a bitch to scale down. There we go. Alright. So now we have our 2 spheres. So let's take a look at these spheres. They both look... Actually, let's duplicate this and initialize a Q sphere here. So we actually have a few different spheres. These are like the 3 main spheres that you can make in ZBrush pretty quickly. And they're all different. They're all slightly different. These ones look a little bit more similar. This is obviously different. This is the initialized sphere here at 222. So when I subdivide this, it's not quite as round as it should be. You can see that there's a little bit of some square shapes kind of coming into that. A little bit of some corners. So that's why I don't like to use that for a lot of stuff. Very rarely use an initialized sphere unless there's a very specific reason. So let's hide that one and look at these 2. The geometry on these are also different. This one, if you forgot, this one is the Insert Multi-Mesh Primitive Sphere, and you can see that these share the same geometry. They don't have any poles. That sucks. They don't have any poles. The appended sphere does have a pole on it. It has 2 poles on the end caps. And essentially I like to use the appended sphere for eyes because it does have that pole. And it allows you to paint eyes a lot easier. I'll use it typically for just that. Or anything where I would maybe need a pole on the sphere, but for everything else I'll just kind of insert a multi-mesh sphere in there and work with that. Oh man, that sucks. Trying to think if I actually care about the undos up to this point. So it did recover for me. It recovered this save file. This is not my most recent. This is my most recent with my undos. ZBrush document, ZBrush project. Actually, it might have grabbed it for me. I might have got lucky. Let's see. So on crash, it'll save a ZPR, a Z document, and a Z tool. The Z tool is pretty much always good for you. Even on a crash where it'll like just auto close ZBrush really fast, you'll often still get a Z tool and be okay. The ZBrush project won't come with it though. It looks like we maybe got lucky. Let's look at this and see if I got my undos. If I got my undos, we're all happy, and it looks like I did. Yeah, so we're good. We're cool. No worries. So back to my demonstration. You can see the pole there. You can see that this is created in such a way that the geometry does not have any poles. So with something like this, you know, It makes it really easy to, you know, mask off an area like so, and then create a pupil, or deform the shape of the eyeball for your for the front of your eyeball, all that stuff. This, if I try to do that, I'm not going to get an even selection. Not a very good tool for creating eyeballs, but it is a very good tool for just kind of inserting a sphere really quick in the place that you need it, and then continuing to kind of add form from there. If I append a sphere, so if I append a sphere here, it's always going to append to the center of my scene at a 2 by 2 by 2 units. But if I, you know, insert a sphere with my brush, I can put that wherever I want, whatever size I want. So that's the kind of difference in utilities for those. Alright, delete all that junk. Also delete that. And back to our froge. Let's grab our image. Hopefully that that answers your question, Mr. Tribble. Whoops. Ah, stupid thing. There we go. Pretty annoying. What else we want to do here? I'm trying to remember what I was working on. I think I was just kind of playing with the different folds and interactions we got going on here with the cloth. So continue to do that. Makes sense. Appended one is more useful for eyes since it has poles. You got it. Primitive, better for sculpting. Better topology. That is correct. Right on the money. Absolutely, yeah. Might need to make our pants a little bit larger. I think I will do that right now. Come on. do what I want. There we go. So kind of breaking this a little bit, but it's to be expected. As I said, we'd have to break a lot of stuff before we can fix it. I'll tweak that more outside of transpose. Whew. I am baking right now in my room. Last night says looking good. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. I have to mess with that one more outside of T-pose. It's just kind of hard to tweak at the poly count that it's at right now. It's just bleh. What types of drinks do you prefer when sculpting? Just pure Kentucky bourbon. No. To keep working. I drink, in all seriousness, I'd probably drink about 2 gallons of water a day. Other than that, I drink coffee very rarely. Maybe like once or twice a week. I'm not like a coffee every day kind of guy. I don't know. I like tea. I like tea a lot. But it doesn't really keep you awake too well or keep you sculpting. But I have always drank a crap ton of water. I don't know. I guess black tea has a little bit of caffeine in it. Nowhere near as much as coffee though. I really like Earl Grey tea. I like green tea a lot. I like chai. Those are kind of my go-tos. But, you know, like I said, not really much of a drink to keep me awake kind of guy. But if I need it, you know, I'll hop on some coffee. If I'm just like dying that day. Or maybe just grab an energy drink, but that I drink an energy drink maybe like, I don't know, very rarely. I used to like the, I really like the flavor of coffee. I just, you know, I don't drink it super often. So I used to grab the, what do they call it? Monster energy drinks. They have like some coffee flavored Monster energy drinks. They're super sugary though. But they're good, you know. Sugar's good, tastes good. So I'd grab those like maybe, I don't know, every once in a great while. Yeah, I've just never been much of a coffee everyday type of guy. Destroys your teeth, makes them all brown and grody. And all that caffeine, you know, not super great for you. I'll probably soften the forms on these a little bit more too on those pants as I figure out what I want to do with those a little bit more. And I'm gonna have to fill in the area of the body too, so that, you know, it's not just empty up in here. Let's kind of T-pose back here, see how things are going so far. No, didn't want solo on. We're definitely getting there, as opposed to where we were at the start of the stream with nothing. I just like this design a lot. It's really cool, really cute. I thought it would be really fun. And there was the other one that I had brought up, the Skeletor concept. I might still do that, depending on how this guy goes. I'm having fun streaming some stuff. Hopefully you guys are enjoying getting to see some of it. I'd like to also start adding some secondary forms to our scarf to get that in a more finished place as well. I think that'll really help tie the head into the body there a little bit better. Also, I haven't done any posing with the head, so the mouth I want to close a little bit more and make a little bit, you know, less stone-faced derpy, a little bit more cute. But I think that's a pretty good place for us for today. Happy Friday, everybody. Haven't said that yet. Thankfully, we made it. We made it one more week as the human race. Good job, guys. Give yourself a pat on the back. Let me save this guy out, and if you guys have any other questions before I bounce on out of here, I might be streaming tomorrow. I'm not too sure, but I'll let you guys know before I jump on. So let's see. I'm not gonna resave that file. I don't need another duplicated file here. And let me just save a. Actually, that's probably fine. I'll do a Z tool real quick too. A lot of undos. Let me see something here. If you don't know, you can access your quick save folder. It's in your local disk where you have, or it's on the disk that you have ZBrush installed on. Users public documents, ZBrush data 2018 quick save. You can find all your quick save data in there. You can see how large these files are, and you can like lower this count quite a bit in the preferences settings by lowering the number of quick saves that actually save. I think I have mine set to 10 right now, which is the default. But yeah, you can play with that too. All right. King BB says GG. Have a good one. GG. Good game. ZBrush is kind of like a game. Yeah, I agree. Let's see here. All right. I think I'm good to go. Thanks for coming in, guys. Before I head out for the weekend, though, if you have not already, please do check out my gummy. Check out my gum. Check out my bubble gum. New course on there. Pretty cool. Pretty nifty. Dean was asking some questions here about it, and we answered some of those. Other than that, though, you know, there's my Patreon where I'm doing some critiques and stuff. All those links are down below. But until the next one, you guys have a great weekend, and I'll see you the next time I'm streaming, hopefully. See you guys. Smashed my hand on my desk. That was an awkward goodbye. See you guys.